The end of the year is nigh. All that was alive and green now turns to a dark red, a bloody red. A red that activates our fear, making us all crazy. To properly channel this fear, we release it through the consumption of horror media. Nerdporial and a special guest will have a special discussion during this time to ward off evil for all its pain and pleasure. Nerdporial humbly welcomes you to Season 2 of the Serial Horror Chat. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, the inaugural Season 2 episode of Serial Horror Chat. And I am your host, Flyporial. I'm Nerdporial, but I identify as Flyporial today, so please get that name right. And without further ado, I want to introduce for his inaugural appearance on the Nerdporial channel, on a Nerdporial stream, the one and only Dread Roberts. What's up, Dread? Can I call you Dread for short, or can I call you Dread for short?
You can call me Dread, or I will even let you call me Kyle if you prefer.
Oh,
whatever works for you.
You can. If I call you Kyle, you can call me Brian. Everybody knows me by Brian. So
Brian.
Some people call me Nerd. Some people call me Brian. Brian's my real name. And yeah, so what's up, Kyle? How you doing?
Oh my goodness, I'm doing great. I'm actually tired from a day of watching kids, and I'm ready to talk about a movie. And oh my goodness, that intro was so epic. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
I was going to ask you if you recognize some of the assets I used.
I did. I saw Carrie. I mean, I saw Carrie. I saw scenes from The Fly. Some of them I'll have to go back and look.
What about the audio? What about the audio during my monologue? Did you recognize that?
Absolutely. I thought that your voice was great. I don't know what you were thinking, speaking all negatively about it. I thought it was just perfect fit,
Oh, I thought this was an improvement. Like, I literally put my head against the mic and I start talking like, I was thinking like, I'm a menacing villain. So I figure, I do that. But did you recognize the music I used?
It sounded like music from The Fly.
It's not actually. It's not. It's from, you ever play Resident Evil 2?
Yeah.
It's the police station, the first floor of the police station theme. I was listening to it. And I'm like, this is very atmospheric. This is going to work. And so I last year I used the last season I used music from the Prince of Darkness. That's the John Carpenter movie. Have you ever heard of that one?
I have. My mom used to watch it. I never watched it, but I heard about it.
That's a weird one because this Catholic monastery has this green tube, and this green tube is actually like the Antichrist or something. And we find out that the Antichrist is the son of the there's no devil, there's an anti-god in this alternate universe. So think Star Trek. Think of like an alternate universe of Star Trek. Instead of there being a god, there's an anti-god. That's evil.
Super wacky.
It's a weird movie. And Alice Cooper kills a guy. Alice Cooper kills a guy in that too. So
I want to watch that.
It's John Carpenter. It's got a great John Carpenter score, and you got Donald Pleasance is in the movie, and a whole bunch of other people. It's not a slasher movie, even though people die. It's not really a slasher. So
is it like a drama?
It's not. I mean, it's not a drama. I mean, people get picked off and stuff. So I guess it can be a slasher, but it's not like you have a mass killer or anything like that.
It's not. It's
Okay.
nothing like that. It's more supernatural than anything. So,
Oh man.
but I have to ask you what your history. I'm curious about your history with the horror genre.
So I actually grew up watching a lot of Chucky and Phantasm, Halloween, all those classics, but not all the classics, but just like the really important ones from that era. My mom had a lot of boyfriends who loved horror, and he used to have a studio with like Michael Myers mask and Chucky doll. He had a wax witch in the corner of his studio. I mean, he was like a death metal singer and all that stuff, but he had a whole bunch of horror movies. But I got through a lot of them, but he had way more. But it was so scary just sitting there because I was always by myself, and Chucky's like staring at me, and I'm trying to get through it.
I remember I was I was a kid in the I was a real youngster. I was a real young little guy in the late '80s, and I grew up in the '90s basically. And I remember seeing like the Child's Play. I think it was Child's Play 2 or Child's Play 3 commercial. That scared the hell out of me. Seeing Chucky attack a kid, I was like, "Holy crap!"
Oh man,
and, yeah. And I mean, the first horror movie I ever saw that scared me was Poltergeist 3. And Poltergeist 3 takes place in a skyscraper in my home city, in my city of Chicago. Yeah. And I never forgot the puddle scene. The puddle scene scared the crap out of me. And I watched it years later as I think as an adult. I finally watched the first two Poltergeist movies when I was an adult. And then I saw 3 and I was like, holy shit, this is the movie I saw as a kid.
Oh wow.
And I was like,
when did that one come out?
Poltergeist 3, that came out in like 88 or 89. So the girl that plays Carol Ann, she's the little girl that was in all 3 of the films. She actually died before that film got released. She had like Crohn's disease.
So that's so sad.
Yeah, so she couldn't. So like they had like doubles for her. So you didn't see her in like the last like 30 minutes of the movie.
Was she an adult in Poltergeist 3?
No, she was still a kid. She was only 12. She was like
the same actress?
Same actress, yeah. She was 5 or 6 in the first Poltergeist, which came out in 82. And then the second one, I think she was like 9 or 10. That came out in 86 or something. So yeah. But yeah, Poltergeist 3 was the first movie I saw. And then I got into Halloween. I saw all the Halloween films from the time I was teenager. I saw the Friday the 13th. I actually liked. As a whole, I think the Friday the 13th movies are more enjoyable as a whole than the Halloween movies. But I think the first Halloween movie is one of the greatest horror movies ever. Better than all the Friday the 13th movies by far. But
yeah, I think I watched Halloween 1. And Halloween 2 was really good. I liked that one too. And then 3, I didn't even know what the heck I was watching until my mom told me that it was a completely different movie.
I do too. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Halloween 1 and 2 are the only 2 Halloween movies, because Halloween 2, Michael Myers, or the Shape, clearly dies.
Yeah.
The only thing that brought him back to life are studio executives and money.
Yeah.
And Halloween 3, it's a shame that they didn't continue the anthology stuff that John Carpenter wanted to do. That started with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. You ever see that one?
Halloween Season of the Witch? No, I did not actually.
Yeah, so that's like an anthological. So he wanted to start like an anthological series of Halloween movies, and that one was one where this evil executive that lives in this backwater town, this entire studio headquarters is in this backwater town, and they play this commercial called Silver Shamrock, and all the kids, this is 1982, so all the kids are glued in front of the TV. They're all sitting right in front of the TV. I remember when I was a kid growing up, and I was sitting in front of those type of TVs. Now I wasn't alive in 82, but we had a TV like that from that era. Yeah. And I used to sit like right in front of the TV so I could see it. And my parents used to tell me, move back, get away from the TV. Now because I'm an adult, maybe it's because because of these big screen TVs, you naturally don't sit close to them. But when I was a kid, you had these small little TVs, or these 16-inch TVs used to sit all the way up in front to it. I don't know if you remember that.
I had we were really poor. I had a TV with a VCR in it.
Okay.
And so I would put the tape inside the TV VCR, and it's really small TV. So I did something like that.
Yeah. so yeah, so that's kind of how I used to watch stuff. And with the VCR, yeah, just I learned how to use a VCR, like, I think at the age of 3. I wanted to watch my Donald Duck and Porky Pig VHSs every morning, and I used to play the shit out of those all the time. And then when I was even older, I learned how to operate the Nintendo, the NES. There you go. So yeah, so that's basically my history with the TV and all that. And I used to rent a whole bunch of horror movies. Like the horror movie was probably the biggest section at the video store we used to go to, and there was so much crap. I rented this. I was like, oh, this is going to be good, and it ends up being total shit half the time. So that's the thing about horror movies. You know, there's good ones, and then there's really shitty ones. So
yeah, and you can enjoy both, even if they're not good.
That's right, because they still have their charm. They still have their charm, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's not insufferable. Like Friday 13th, they're considered bad films by Gene Siskel and Ebert especially. And you know what? I mean, I agree with them, but at the same time, it's a guilty pleasure. I enjoy them. They still do their job of being a horror film. It does its work.
Yeah,
and they did their. They did their research. They did copied aspects of Halloween that made it successful, and I think they did a good job in that regard. So, but The Fly, 1986. Now, this is a remake. Now, I don't know if you know, but the 80s era of movies, especially horror movies, they did a whole lot of remakes, and during this era, the remakes were actually stellar compared to their originals. Now, the originals still always will have their charm. So, best example of The Thing. You ever see The Thing?
I did, yes.
You ever see the original Thing, The Thing from Another World, 1951? Watch the skies, everybody.
Oh,
everybody, watch the skies. That's what they leave that little radio. They broadcast that radio to everyone on Earth saying, "Watch the skies."
So it's a completely different movie. Sounds like a different movie than The Thing from the 80s or the 70s.
It is. The Thing from the 80s was based off of its source material, based off of the book, which was called "Who Goes There," and that's kind of what John Carpenter did. So obviously, in the original 50s movie, the Thing is just basically a plant monster or a monster that's made out of plants from another world, and it's played by a 7-foot, or 6'7" dude, and everything. So, and they burn it. So the one thing that does come back, and the one thing that's prominent in both films is there's a lot of burning. There's a lot of flamethrowers and a lot of burning, and it also takes place in an isolated area. So in the first movie, the original movie, the 50s movie, takes place in the North Pole. The John Carpenter film, the 80s one, takes place in the South Pole. This takes place in the South Pole. So,
I wonder what he was thinking when he did that, when he made that change.
What changed? To the South
my
Pole?
movie's not going to take place in the North Pole. It will take place in the South Pole.
Well, I think because Antarctica is actually a continent, and there's actually, I think because maybe there's actually bases or something on Antarctica to kind of make it seem a little more realistic. I don't know.
That's a good point,
I don't know
actually.
for sure. So
it's a good point.
But yeah, so I have to say hello to everyone in the chat first. So, but yeah, so Dempsey, what's up? Dempsey, Jacob Ironside. I don't know who this Dread Roberts is. Orville Nation, what's up? Awesome says this looks epic. Yeah, it does. DJ Ronnie G, who I had on my Chillporial yesterday. Definitely check out that Chillporial if you haven't. We talked about sci-fi, we talked about space, and DJ Ronnie G was talking very high level technical stuff about telescopes and a whole bunch of stuff. So he knows his shit. And Jacob Ironside has been a member. So he says the complete record of the most earth-shattering invention ever. Yep, that's this movie. That's right.
Amazing.
And then we got Dan Crane, been a member. What's up, Dan? Thanks for dropping by. So all right, so ready. What else was I going to ask? Oh yeah, I was going to ask about Cronenberg. So have you seen a whole bunch of Cronenberg films?
I probably have, and I've probably seen his movies and not known which ones were actually his.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with the funniest thing about Cronenberg. Cronenberg, I don't know if you've noticed, but Cronenberg makes a cameo in this movie, in The Fly. Do you know which character he played?
He's not the stalker boyfriend, is he?
No, he's not the stalker boyfriend. That's actually an actor. I think that actor is John Getz. But Cronenberg makes an appearance as the gynecologist. So you see a creepy little dude with glasses. He's the gynecologist during the dream sequence. She gives birth.
Oh, where she's being held down.
Yeah, she's being held down. She gives birth to the larva or something. that big massive larva, and she's screaming.
Thing was disgusting.
I was going to use it as the background, but I decided, you know what, I don't want to scare you away, and plus it didn't look good. So I took an image of the screenshot of his computer. I like the way his computer looks. Very 80s looking. So
very much so. Very much.
Yeah. But for me, Cronenberg, I saw a movie, and this is what I used. Everybody who's watched my channel knows I watched the Wheel of Time series. So yeah. I think sometime last year, early this year, I watched Wheel of Time season 1 for the first time, and we did like a live reaction, all that. So I watched the first episode, and I was completely appalled because I read the first book too. I saw that, and I was just like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. They completely disregarded what made the book great in the first place. And it was so bad that the next intro I made, I used a clip from the movie Scanners. I don't know if you're familiar with Scanners. That was the 1981 Cronenberg. I think the most famous actors, most famous two actors in that one was Patrick McGowan. He was from, Danger Man or Secret Agent Man, and he was in a show called The Prisoner. These were all where he plays a secret agent that gets kidnapped because he quits his job. Okay. And it's Prisoner's an interesting story because they're trying to break him. They're trying to break him, and they're trying to find out why he left, and he will not give in. So they resort to a whole bunch of things. And they invade his privacy. They do a whole bunch of things to try and break him. But yeah, so Patrick McGowan, and the other big star in that movie who plays the villain is what the hell's his name? I can't think of his name. Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside, who played if you ever seen Total Recall, he plays Richter.
So I have seen that, and I do know Michael Ironside. Very,
very well. Arnold's like, see you at the party, Richter. Yeah, and so he plays the bad guy, and so apparently in that movie they all have psionic abilities, and Michael Ironside has the strongest psionic abilities, and he causes a dude's head to explode. Like the same guy that did the effects for this movie did the effect for Scanners. So you see a dude's head burst like a watermelon, and blood goes everywhere. And let's just say I used that clip quite a bit to express my frustration at nonsensical entertainment nowadays.
Like watching in your intro.
It's not. I didn't use it in this intro. I used it in the last video I did was a satire of the Wheel of Time season 2, saying the title is Wheel of Time season 2 is great, and I pretend to be an asshole. So I pretend to be an asshole who is a shill, except I'm doing a very bad job of pretending to be a shill. And then anybody who speaks out or something, I just ban them. I say I ban them in the video. I'm like, if you disagree with me on this video, I'm going to throw you out of this video and ban you, which is absurd because you can't throw someone off a video. So, but that's what I did. And then at the end of the thing, there's a sequence that happens in the books that causes that's a big that just you see one image and another image and another image, and it ends with blows up, and so I used that then. And I used that as my reaction to seeing the Wheel of Time series.
That's actually a really great reaction.
Yes.
That's about as violent as it can get.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. So, but yes. So Scanners was one movie I saw, and then there were a couple others that I saw. One thing about David Cronenberg, he does appear in other films. You ever see Jason X?
I have seen Jason X.
You remember the beginning of Jason X, where Jason's being tortured by this creepy looking little dude with glasses and all that?
No way, that was him.
That was David Cronenberg, and Jason kills David.
Right where that chick is, and they're in that warehouse thing.
They're in that warehouse, and he gets a very violent death.
Wow, that is actually really cool. I didn't know that.
That's right. Yeah. So he's made appearances, and I think his most latest appearance, and it's probably the most cringe. He doesn't get killed, but he appears in season 3. I think it's season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. I haven't even bothered watching that. I haven't bothered watching any of that. Yeah. So like I'm totally done with that type of this era of, I don't even call it Star Trek. It's New Trek. Sorry.
Now, I did enjoy Picard season 3, but I did not watch the previous 2 seasons, so I didn't really get like the negative from that show.
The thing is, it doesn't, the way it was written, the way the story, it was a bad story. It wasn't a good story. It didn't reveal a Star Trek story, which is what made Star Trek, unique amongst other shows. So,
oh wow, what did you enjoy? Just out of curiosity, like, did you enjoy any part of it, or?
I mean, I enjoyed. There was the episode with Ro that I actually like. Me and Prophet of the Dragon, we were both, we both did live reactions to it. He's not a Star Trek fan. He's very good at analyzing a good show versus a bad show, and he basically said that. I mean, he basically has been critical of Picard season 3, and some of the stuff I agree on. Some of the stuff, most of the stuff I agree with him on. Some of the stuff I try to, I say, there's reasons why they do things this way, canon reasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, the show ultimately, just like the if you've seen Deep Space Nine, what they try to do with the shapeshifters was not a good idea. Like the whole mystery. So they did the mystery box approach again with Picard. So the mystery was, who are these bad guys who are in the beginning, and who is this Jack guy?
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to be talking about the flying, about Picard season 3, but it ultimately doesn't pay off. When I went back and watched the first episode after finding out who those bad guys are, those bird-looking bad guys who are actually the founders of the Dominion. It made no sense. Those people, that race, the founders would not use beam weapons. They don't need to use beam weapons to kill a target. They can just turn to goo and then morph behind someone and just strangle them or stab them. Kind of like the T-1000. Right. So, and what's weird is Terry Matalas, who did that show, should know better. So, and it didn't make sense that all the bigger channels were praising this. So, I mean, and it still suffered from a lot of things from seasons 1 and 2. I know, the thing that people liked was the fan service, and people loved the fact that they brought the TNG crew together. Those are the 2 big things. Some people said they liked the arcs. I thought the arcs were weak. The character arcs were weak, but that's just me. So,
but he wasn't very good on the details, is what you're describing. He wasn't very good at.
I mean, they had 10 episodes. And it felt like I was watching a cartoon. It felt like I was watching a crappy cartoon. And
fair enough.
Yeah.
I know, because I think I liked it up until. I mean, I like character arcs, but I totally agree. Like, if you're not getting the details right and no one's really paying attention, then maybe the priorities are out of whack. But I know that when I watched it, I liked it until the end, because then it kind of implied to me that they were just kind of doing the whole thing to set up Jack as being like a sidekick in the next season of whatever they're going to do. And you have these 2 female, possibly lesbian captains. I'm just like,
oh, they are in season 1 and 2, which didn't make any sense.
We've learned to pick up on that kind of stuff now.
Yeah,
I can just smile. I can smell it from a mile away. I really can.
Yeah,
I see it, and
So I mean, people were happy with it. I'm not going to really. I've been arguing with people. I've gotten blocked by the production designer of that show. I'm not. I haven't really. I might make a video eventually. I told myself I would, but I just don't want to. So that's. I covered that show. I was hoping it'd be good, and then it wasn't. And I don't like to cover. I don't like to be negative and cover stuff like that. Like, I wanted to like this show. So, I covered the Orville also. And the Orville, I'm going to say the connection between the fly and the Orville, the abortion, there's the whole abortion thing. In the Orville, they go to this planet. There's I don't know if you've seen the show, but there's this one race it's going to be funny, but they're a villainous race that's based off of a certain right part of politics.
No way.
Yeah, so they're religious and they're this and that, but they're vicious and evil. And they go to the planet. They finally go to they go to the home world, and they find out what happens to people on that planet who abort their kids. So what they do is they punish them by creating a hologram of what the kid would be, and then the kid would be they would force the parents to confront the kid as a hologram, and the kid would ask, "Why did you do this?" Yeah, yeah.
That sounds kind of weird.
It was. When you think about it, it's. I thought it was an interesting idea. It was a very interesting idea. So,
Wow.
but I don't know. It's one of the. It was. Yeah, that was one episode that was pretty divisive amongst people. I didn't think it was a bad episode, but it was pretty ham-fisted in areas where I think it could have been a little bit more, where it could have been a little more subtle, kind of like the earlier shows were to a degree.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I heard a lot of people did like I know that people have kind of differing opinions on the Orville, but a lot of people that I see that were OG Star Trek fans, they always talk about how the Orville gets better as it goes along, and it becomes more like Star Trek as it goes along too.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's become more like other science fiction. So there was points where, like the season 3, the big episode that pretty much resolves almost everything. And as far as I'm concerned, the Orville's done. Like they're not going to get another season.
Okay.
It becomes Star Wars. Like there's fighters, there's trench runs, I mean, because they're trying to blow up this base. They're trying to blow up this base that's going to commit like genocide against. What's funny is they're going to commit genocide against the big bad, who was the big bad for like over a season, but then they become the good guys all of a sudden, and now the people on the right side, the aliens based off of right wing politics or the far right and the far left are the bad guys, and so again, they kind of undid the stuff that they did in season 2. Because they made peace with that race that I was just talking about, the Krill.
Yeah.
And then they undid that to work with the existential threat, who are more like the Borg than anything, and they're menacing. The same race as Isaac. I don't know if you know. Same race as Isaac were the menacing existential threat to not just humanity but to all of organic civilizations in the galaxy. And they just came up with a weapon, and then they decided to go all Oppenheimer. Oh, this weapon will have implications in the galaxy, and so they're like, okay, we have this weapon, surrender. And then the Kalon are like, okay, because that's modern writing now. So, and I was just like, oh my god, this is. And then they
sound like
they become allies, and then they join the freaking Union right in the next episode. I was like, what?
Oh.
So, but that's a discussion for another day.
Absolutely.
We're here to talk about the Fly. So
Fly.
So I'm going to share my screen right now. I know people are coming and going, so I hope. So let's share screen. The Fly.
I watched this movie and I was like, the moment I saw Jeff Goldblum, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. I can't wait.
I'm gonna say this. I watched this beginning where they're having it's like a cocktail party or something, or not. It's not really. It's like an event or something, like an event for scientists and press and all that. So he's awkwardly trying to hit on her. She just comes off as uninterested. And that's the thing about Jeff Goldblum. He's pretty nerdy in most of his movies. Like you've seen Jurassic Park, you know how nerdy he is with the chaos theory and all that as Dr. Malcolm. And then
you see the same thing here. Almost.
Yeah, you see the same thing here. And there was another movie he was in, The Big Chill, where he joins a whole bunch of an all-star cast of people that graduated college together. They get together because one of the people they knew died. And he's trying to hit on one of the women, and they're like, no. He's like, but he says I tried, So he kind of comes off that way here. So yeah, so they're having they're having drinks, they're talking and all that. and he manages to convince her to come home with him. And I mean, I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
This scene was actually really interesting to me because the way that she was in this scene in the beginning, I kind of thought that she was going to be a throwaway character until it, because I haven't watched any spoilers when I watched this movie. So when he got her to go home with him, I'm like, oh, she's going to be more involved than I thought. And he actually was pretty smooth about this.
Yes. Yeah. So, and so, yeah. So like he invites her into his apartment. Look at this apartment. I mean, you got the electrical stuff here. You have like, I don't know what's over here.
It's like a nuclear bunker.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And she goes in and she's like, what the hell is this? He starts playing the piano to be charming because, if you're a musician and you play the piano or you do something, hey, ladies like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what he played, but hey, whatever. Hey, if Jeff Goldblum, that's awesome that Jeff Goldblum.
It sounded beautiful.
It did.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, and so he unmasked this, and he's just like, "This is a telepod," and she's just like, "Oh, it's a." She keeps calling it a phone booth, and he's like, "Lady, it's a telepod." And
where's
so,
she ever seen a phone booth like that?
I don't know. She maybe in Doctor Who or something. Not even Doctor Who, because Doctor Who has the police box. But yeah,
I mean, small to be a TARDIS, isn't it?
Yeah, it is small. I mean, you have to bend over in order, like. What's funny is, like you have to bend over to be able to walk in. It's really small, like
uncomfortable. Wow.
Yes, but it's basically I think this runs on the same principle as the going back to Star Trek, the transporter in Star Trek. It converts, it scrambles your atoms and molecules and whatever, and then reforms it, in the other pod. And one thing I thought that was very interesting about this movie was they talk about the implication of that. And so how like you make a copy of a copy of a copy, and the one thing they say in this movie, there's something lost in the translation. I thought that was very interesting when he actually goes. So he goes into the he puts a I don't know if you remember, he puts a piece of steak.
Yes.
Okay. We don't want to go here yet. We get quite a bit of underwear model Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, that's something I want to get into also, because this dude is like jacked, but he's like a shut-in scientist,
Yeah. So I'm assuming he gets jacked. He does all the calisthenics after he merges. So the thing is, this is a typical mad scientist type of, this is a mad scientist trope and everything. And he doesn't know his invention as well as so we find out that Gina Davis is actually a journalist, and she has like a tape recorder, and he's like, you got to give me that tape recorder, because this is not ready to be shown to everybody. And so she goes and meets this guy. This guy's name is Stathis. He is her editor. This is the headquarters of Particle magazine. Look at that 80s office. Like I don't know about you, but when I was watching this scene, what I was thinking? Reagan's America, American Psycho, the business suit, the corporate America, like 80s corporate America was what I was thinking. Seeing this.
Must have been nice. That's all I'm going to say. Must have been nice.
Yeah. So she's there. And what's funny is Jeff Goldblum follows her and actually says, "Hey, how about this? Don't do what you're doing. Let's meet for lunch and have a discussion." And so he talks about his project. Oh, sorry. He talks about his project, and he says the only thing that gets through is inanimate objects. So things that are not, living, nothing with organic tissue. And he hasn't tested that, and he's concerned what would happen. And he's just like, she asks like, what would happen? And he's like, not over the meat, not when we're eating. And well, there's a reason for that, because he actually tries it. I don't know where this happens, but Oh yeah, so this is the steak part I was
Yep,
talking
there
about.
it is.
So he puts a steak into and I'm going to call it the transporter for Star Trek's sake.
Yep.
He puts a steak into the transporter, and he feeds her a normally cooked steak, and he feeds her a cooked steak that was put in a transporter. She tries to eat, he feeds it to her. She's like, "Ooh, I can't eat this." And he's like, "What's wrong with it?" He's like, she says it tastes funny. It tastes synthetic. So,
Yeah.
and then he said, and then I think this is where he said something was lost in the translation as it was being, as its atoms and molecules were being scrambled,
Yeah.
and then rebuilt.
Yeah, he said it was the computer's best interpretation of steak.
Yes. So, and the thing is, the computer only knows so much. And the one that I love the fact that they address the fact that, people think computers know all. Computers are dumb as shit. Computers need programming in order to do calculations and instructions. So it's extremely dependent on people. So, yeah. So we had the meat test. I thought the meat test was very interesting, and
I do wonder what it would have been like if he had fed her the funny piece of steak first.
Yeah.
The good steak after. It's like, this is delicious. It's like,
Yeah.
well, guess what? That's the fake one.
Yeah. That's the fake one and all that. And then of course, I thought like he has like so they sleep together, obviously. Dude, like that, dude, that's, I mean, if you're lonely and you're jacked up, of course there's going to be some sleeping together and all that.
He's a brilliant, handsome, jacked scientist. She doesn't even know how he works out until after, that happens. But I mean, he's obviously a good-looking guy. He was able to talk her into his house, and then he did that, but she still stayed. I'm not even sure why.
Yeah, so he puts a baboon into this telepod, and this is what happens. The baboon goes inside out, and this looks like something out of The Thing. I mean, this wasn't done by the same effects guy. Rob Bottin did the stuff from The Thing. Stan Winston and Rob Bottin did the stuff from The Thing. This is
gross.
Yeah, this, I mean, just look at it wiggle. Like look at it wiggle like that.
Oh yeah.
So but yeah,
and hasn't that always been David Cronenberg's thing? He's always been a body horror director, right? It's like so much so that his son even kind of took after him later on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah. So like, Scanners, obviously, with the head exploding. There's another movie he did called The Brood, where this woman, I'm going to be spoiling it, but this woman is growing kids from her stomach or from her side. Like it's like, remember you ever you've seen Gremlins, right? You know how the Gremlins,
yeah.
Once they get wet, they have these little egg bubble things on their torsos and all that.
I do, yeah.
Well, there's a movie called The Brood. It came up I think before Scanners. Came out in like 79, I think. And a woman grows these little people. Like the mystery is these little people are born and grow up from her side or something, and they kill people. It's a weird movie.
Amazing.
It's a weird movie. I how I didn't even know the movie existed. I had a Criterion Collection account. Criterion is known for remastering and restoring movies and everything, and releasing on Blu-ray now and 4K. Well, there was a streaming service called Filmstruck that got taken down because Criterion was Criterion was part of it, but I think it was because AT&T bought Warner Brothers and stuff, and Filmstruck was under Warner Brothers that they closed. They simply canceled that. They closed that account in favor of what became HBO Max. So, and I watched a whole bunch of Cronenberg movies on that platform before they shut it down. So,
oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And so they released a whole bunch of Cronenberg films on Criterion 4K or something, or Blu-ray.
Just went on a binge.
Yeah, so there was that, and then there was another movie he did that came out even in the mid-70s. It was called Shivers. Shivers is the one where this parasite basically takes over people in Canada, because if there's a country that has more parasites than anywhere, it's Canada. and plus, David Cronenberg's from Canada, so they filmed that movie in Canada. And these parasites take over these people, and these people not only spread their parasites to others, but they want to have sex with everybody. Like they're a bunch of sex fiends.
Oh,
and so and the movie, and it's a 70s movie, so 70s movies generally never end well for the heroes or for humanity. Humanity's always doomed. Humanity's always doomed at the end of these movies. And so there's a big climax that takes place in the swimming pool. Like everybody at that hotel where the movie takes place is chasing this one dude, this final dude, and this final dude gets knocked into a swimming pool. They're all jumping in the swimming pool, and they all put the thing in him, and that's it. And that's it. And that's it. And then they go into the city. They go into the rest of Canada, and then you hear news on the radio saying there's been an increase in sex crimes and stuff.
I think it's so funny if movies end like that.
Yeah. So
here's bad news. Well, hope you liked it.
Yeah, and there was a lot of body horror in that movie. It's called Shivers. And the reason why I discovered that movie was because David Cronenberg said his movie Shivers was better than Alien, because Alien is, you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen Alien. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, David, it's not better than Alien, not by a long shot. But hey, at least you spoke about your movie. At least you spoke about your movie, though, and I watched
totally it. Entitled to your opinion. Even
it's not a bad movie, but it's not. Alien is a brilliant movie, and on so many levels. But yeah, going back to The Fly, so he I forget what he did, but he did a second test with another orangutan, and the orangutan survived that one. And he literally holds on to the orangutan. He says, "I'm sorry, I killed your brother," or something. Oh my
goodness!
Yeah.
Here's one thing I never understood about the telepod. Does it because it destroys whatever is in the first pod, and then it recreates it in the next pod?
Yes.
So does it transfer how does it transfer the memories and feelings into the other person?
I don't know. I don't think I caught that either. I'm assuming that's an aspect of that. At least it tries to rebuild the brain. It's as best as it could. And it's like making copies of copies of copies. Something is lost. Or making
they do
clones.
Mention that a lot.
Or making clones and clones of clones of clones of clones. They always talk about the implication of that, about something being lost, and the science fiction covers this quite a bit. There was a Star Trek episode where this one character becomes an android. So the only thing that was left of him was his brain. His brain was managed to get transferred to an android body, and something about his humanity was lost. And so I'm assuming that was the case here with Jeff Goldblum. But at the same time, he was also here's something that he didn't know was, he didn't know that the pod, he didn't take into account that the pod could be contaminated with a fly or something like that. Yeah. So he goes into the pod, uses himself as a guinea pig, and didn't bother checking to see if there's another, there was a fly or something else in there. And he doesn't know this. And what does he do? He ends up merging on a molecular DNA level with the fly, and so he starts manifesting shit. And I like how this movie's a slow burn. Yes, so right here, I kind of want to. Where is this? That's not it.
It's like if Captain America went wrong, basically.
Yes. So yeah, here it is. Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Normal, right?
Yeah, look at that. Look at that handsome guy. You're going in naked and all that. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, ladies.
There he is.
Yeah. So,
but no quip. He doesn't make a quip after this. He just waits for the monkey to jump in his arms.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, that's a little too far. I like how she right away she comes back and everything. Teleportation successful. Yeah, right here. So yeah, he's like, "I'm sorry, I killed your brother."
I was wondering if the fly didn't get caught in there with him, because they do talk about that off. They keep referencing back to, you lose something every time that you clone after copy.
Yeah.
But if the fly hadn't gone in there, would it have been a perfect teleportation, and would he have been the same person? That's something I was wondering about.
That's a very good question. I'm going to assume no. I'm going to assume his personality would have probably changed, or something. Some aspect of him would be different. Maybe he wouldn't be. Maybe he'd be less human.
Yeah, I can imagine that the fly took. I mean, like he starts taking on the personality of the fly. I know you're probably going to get to that, but I was like thinking, just like, are flies really like big jerks and careless, or was that something he lost?
That's one thing that he says. He talks about insect politics. I don't know if you remember that scene. It's like the last time she sees him before, like, you know, he abducts her and all that. And he talks about insect politics and how insects are basically very brutal to each other. There's no compromise, no compassion. And he's like, you know, if I make it, I want to be the first insect politician. And of course, he was making a joke, but he literally tells her at that point. This is almost at the end of the movie. He's like, you cannot come back here, or I'm probably going to hurt you. He's basically, this is his way of saying I'm losing control of myself.
Oh, sad.
And yeah, so this is a tragic movie. Like, he doesn't kill anybody. So this is, even though this is a scary movie, he doesn't kill anybody. I mean, he attacks people, but he doesn't kill anybody. He's not a bad dude. Like, he's not a bad dude. Like this, he is not a bad guy at all in this. Yeah. I have not seen anything that made him bad. What do you think?
No, I don't think that I think he's like a very calm, gentle guy. And just like you're just a scientist who wants to focus on his work. It's not like he tried to kill her when she recorded without his knowledge or anything. In fact, you know, he's very cordial and they ended up getting along and falling in love. And in fact, I don't think anybody in the movie is bad, even the sleazy guy, honestly.
Yeah, because
I think he's a little stalkery, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically ex-boyfriend. He's just like so she goes home. I'm gonna go back a little bit. She goes home. And she finds him. So he's obviously here at I'm going to assume this is Joseph A. Bank, because I was just at Joseph A. Bank getting some, you know, buying some clothes and all that. Because I don't go to the Men's Warehouse. Sorry, I just don't.
Fair enough.
But I'm trying to find because she finds him in the shower. She finds him in her shower.
Oh yeah, I think that's near the beginning. I think it's like right after she goes out for a burger with him.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, when I was watching this, the whole time I was thinking, this dude just wants to fuck her, or excuse my language. He just wants to have sex. He just wants to have sex with her. So, so I mean, it's that type of, you know, friends with benefits type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, he even admits it later on, I think.
Yeah.
He's like, can't we just have like a friends with benefits kind of thing? She's like, well, you're a creep. I'll see you later. Yeah,
pretty much. So. But so yeah, so we got we got a whole bunch of this part right here. So one thing we learned quite a bit. So after he gets he gets changed and all that. And this is like look at this. Like he is doing like insane calisthenics. Like he is like doing. I'm sure you've been to the circus. You ever see those guys like swinging on the bars and all that. That's like insane gymnastics, like insane. Like let me see if I get.
Like I'm instantly jealous and I get tired just watching.
Like I forget what they call where you do a pull up and then you do a pull up and then you push yourself up further, you know, with your triceps. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And then he's swinging and he's doing all this shit. And he's putting his legs like 90 degrees while he's holding onto the bar, which is like insane. Like it's like you have to be like an insane, you know, gymnast to do that stuff. So here's like he's basically becoming Spider-Man kind of deal. I mean, he pretty much is Spider-Man. He's climbing the walls and ceiling.
Yeah, just a little bit of a spam. You know, they have a word for that. I think they're called. It's a term some guys overseas named it when I was with them. They called that kind of thing momentum ups.
Momentum ups. It's insane. And so of course, because she's seeing all that, and of course he's shirtless again, and she's just like, okay. She's like, yes, I'm screwing this guy
again.
Yeah, right here, perfect shot. And she's like, okay, let's hang out. Let's go hang out in the town and everything. And so here's something I took notice, and this is, and I'm glad David Cronenberg kept zooming in on the shot. He keeps putting sugar in his cafe, in his coffee or something. I don't know if it's cappuccino or something. And I'm like, okay, I guess flies are really attracted to sugar.
They love sweet stuff.
Yeah, and so you see him put like 6 to 8 freaking spoonfuls of sugar into that coffee. I was surprised that they didn't do anything with lights, because you know how like flies and insects are attracted to lights and all that.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a missed opportunity, honestly.
Yeah,
something cool with that.
Or maybe they had an idea and they're like, okay, maybe we don't have the time to do this, or maybe this just doesn't work, or maybe it was a bad idea in the first place. But yeah, I thought it was funny that they had the sugar thing right here, and they're talking. And here he's like, I've never felt better in my entire life. And you look right here, you start to see like he's starting to manifest stuff on his face. He's not only manifesting stuff on his face, but on his back. And she notices this. He's growing really coarse hairs, and she tries to cut it. And everything. Oh boy, here we go. And then whitey tighties, the 80s, where men were wearing whitey tighties quite a bit. So you get to see quite a bit of Jeff Goldblum there. So yeah, she's cutting off his thick coarse hairs, and he's just like, please stop doing that. And then he's like, I have an idea. Why don't you go into the thing and we'll become the dynamic duo? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
And
because he wouldn't have asked for that, honestly. He would not have.
I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember this, but he does a freaking awesome speech here. I don't know if you remember.
He does. I mean, he's like shouting. I listened to. I just didn't rewatch.
Okay, so he does. He quotes. I don't know if he quotes a poem. He quotes a poem by this guy named Alexander. What's his name? Alexander Pope. He quotes a poem from Alexander Pope. So this is a testament to how well written this movie is. So Alexander Pope is a poet from the 18th century, and he wrote a poem called An Essay on Criticism. So, and this is one of the most quoted poems that's in pop culture. So he says something here. He talks about the flesh. He talks about, like, he tells her, you can't see beyond the line of society's view on the flesh and their great fear of the flesh. And here is the thing that he says, or that's based on what he says. A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the parent spring, or in this case, he says the plasma spring, because that's how he describes his project and all that.
Right.
And so he's saying this as he's leaving. So obviously here he's super duper, like, you could tell he's manic as hell. Like, he's just like
losing his mind.
He's losing his mind. He's very hyper, and but the thing is, he doesn't react violently, and that's part of the reason why I think this is great writing. Like, he just says, I'm done with. He's basically saying, I'm done with you. I'm going to find someone else who can keep up. He literally says, I can find someone else who can keep up with me. And so, yes. So he's, in other words, she's like, oh shit, what is he going to do? Is he going to kidnap someone? Is he going to, he's going to meet another woman and try to convince her to go into that telepod so that she can feel as good as he does, and they can just do shit together and be happy, be at the same level of happiness and stuff. And he's basically saying, you're not willing to try this. When he says drink deep or taste not the parent spring, it's basically saying you're not willing to try this. You're not willing to, you're not willing to check this out, to really, expand into what I'm experiencing right now. At least that's how I quote this. Yeah, I thought that was well written. Like, I had to rewind. It's like, dude, this is like the fact. I don't know if so this was written by someone else, and I'm assuming Cronenberg rewrote this. I don't know if Cronenberg added this, but if he did, I have nothing but respect for him, because I mean, anybody who knows like 18th century poetry, dude, if you know 18th century poetry, you are pretty well educated there. So,
Well, I learned a lot about it in school. Absolutely. But
I hated
mean,
poetry. I hated poetry in school. I mean, I started picking up an appreciation for it, especially after doing a reread of Lord of the Rings with the White Cloaks. So I haven't read Lord of the Rings in years, but you know how Tolkien has poetry all throughout the entire Lord of the Rings.
yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I started developing or rediscovering my appreciation for poetry.
That's so cool. How did you find out about the poem that he was reciting here? Because that is
I was so impressed with it that I because I was watching this with subtitles. I wrote down what he said and I Googled it, and that's I Googled it, and I went to the YouTube channel, and someone in the comments actually mentioned this poem, this and said this was based on this is a few lines from the from Alexander Pope, and that's how I found this. So.
so
But yeah, I'll read this. I'll read this section. So, a little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep, or taste not the Piran spring. Their shallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking largely sobers us again. For at first sight, with what the muse imparts, in fearless youth we tempt the heights of arts. While from the bounded level of our mind, short views we take, nor see the lengths behind. Now, this is about criticism. This is about critics in general. This is a satire on critics.
Yeah.
While from the bounded level of our mind, short views we take, nor see the lengths behind. But more advanced, behold with strange surprise, new distant scenes of endless science rise. So pleased at first, the towering Alps we try, mount o'er the vales, and seem to tread the sky. The eternal snows appear already past, and the first clouds and mountains seem the last. But those attained, we tremble to survey the growing labors of the lengthened way. The increasing prospect tires our wondering eyes. Hills peep over hills, and Alps on Alps arise. I have no idea what any of that means, but it sounds cool to read. So there you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's a large poem. That's only one stanza.
Now, when he was like reciting this speech, I kind of took it as like, yeah, it's probably something that he knew and he was saying it to her. But what I understood was that they were kind of in love with each other. And I was wondering if this was like a fly side effect or if it was him speaking from his heart or just using something to deal with his anger.
He was speaking from anger. I mean, he's obviously highly educated. We learned quite a bit about him. Like he was according to one scene, according to Stathis, who did some research, who looked into him, he nearly won a Nobel Prize at the age of 20, 21 or 22, around that age. So this guy is brilliant. And so most brilliant people really know their poetry pretty well. And he probably knew he probably knew this type of era. And this was just his way of expressing his frustration. And I thought this was a beautiful way to express that frustration. I mean, just talking about, the not drink deeply and or not taste not the spring or the plasma. And here, this is the plasma spring. I thought this was great. I thought that was awesome.
That was great. What would you think about him wanting to go and find a new lady? Because I
loved this part. I was like, okay, shit's gonna happen, because this was a slow burn. I mean, like not much has happened. Like the only thing that we saw, the only effect that we saw was the inside out baboon, and that was just like that was like the only scare that we've had so far. So,
right. That's actually what I like about slow burns, is that they don't show you anything for a long time, so that when that scary thing does happen, it just kind of blows up at you. And you're just like, oh,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so here we get this awesome scene in the bar. So he's walking in the streets right now, like this, and then we get some really dramatic music. I'm hearing it right now on my end, and then he goes into a bar, and he's just the confidence is up. His confidence is up like insane. Like he's talking to this lady. He's like, I forget exactly what he says, but he's like, hey, can I take you home? And she's like, who do you think I am, a whore or a hooker or something? Obviously she is. He's like, yeah, you can't fool me. And then the dude right here, they're doing like a arm wrestling thing. He takes notice of her, of what he's doing. And he's like, okay, how about this? I'll make it worth your while. He takes out $100, puts it on the table, and oh, sorry, I went a little too far. Takes out $100. Here, one thing I did notice here. So they're doing an arm wrestling thing, and I'm assuming this is his salon. This is his perspiration as the fly. I was just like, you notice it's kind of bubbly and all that too. I don't know if it's supposed to be the acid, same thing as the acid that comes out of his mouth later.
I won't lie.
That was
when I first saw it.
That was gross. That was gross.
I thought he was just sucking water out of the guy's body at first. To be honest,
but he has
I didn't know what's happening.
But he has Spider-Man strength, and so he breaks this dude's wrist. Look at and you see the bone sticking out. Yeah,
just a Band-Aid. That'll do it. Band-Aid will do it.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, he takes the woman home with him.
She still goes with him.
She's not
even concerned.
Yeah, doesn't care. So apparently she was a hooker. He wasn't wrong there. And here's another interesting thing that we learned. So he takes her back, and we learn just like how imposing he is. He can pick her up. He can carry her normally. So obviously he's stronger. He basically destroyed that dude's wrist. He's running up the stairs. He's running up several flights of stairs, carrying her in his arms like this.
Oh man!
Like he's just running. He's running. You see his feet, and you're just like, yeah, you're seeing that, and yeah. So like they're about to do the thing.
She's like, your body doesn't make sense for a scientist.
Exactly. And yeah, they're doing. We see his butt. We got to see some man butt there, and
amazing.
Yeah, he basically asks her if she wants to join him go into the pod. And she's like, nah. And then Gina Davis shows up. She's like, go. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do this. And he's just like, seriously? He's like, come on, seriously? What the heck? Yeah, what the heck? You ruined this for me. And he's just like, go away, leave me alone. This scene right here. This scene is where he starts to notice the manifestations. Like he was in complete denial about it. He's like, oh, I feel great.
Yeah, she tried to tell him, he wouldn't listen. And he kicked her out.
Yeah, so his teeth fall out here. Let me see. You see his teeth fall right here. And then like his fingernail falls out, and like you can tell that it's a prosthetic, like, ooh. And then stuff like squirts out of it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's do the gross out. Okay, all right, that's enough. Sorry.
That brings me back to. So I didn't see this movie, but I saw Neil Blomkamp's District 9. So that's when
that's a great movie. I've only seen that once. I need to see that again.
Yeah, that's a good movie, and honestly, this and like from this point on in the movie, I never knew that Jeff Goldblum had such good range, but he does a really good job of selling his like degradation of humanity.
Yes, what's funny was that he wasn't originally. They didn't originally want him in this movie. They originally wanted who did they originally? Let me look. I'm trying to remember who they originally wanted for the film, but it wasn't Jeff Goldblum. It was they wanted Pierce Brosnan originally.
No! This was such a better idea.
Yeah, like Cronenberg himself said no to Pierce Brosnan, and apparently
it has the range for it. Sorry.
Yeah, and actually a few other people were offered. John Malkovich was offered, and he's like, nah, I'm not doing this. And then John Lithgow from Hearing the Hendersons and a whole bunch of shows. He's like, this is gross. I'm not doing this. They ended up with Jeff Goldblum, and I think Jeff Goldblum, I think they struck gold with him personally.
He did a great job because he's got that personality. In the first half of the movie, it's like you can't help but like the dude because he's just such a gentle soul, but he's also very smart. He tries to follow Einstein. And then you just see the switch, and just really where the performance, I think, shines through, even though it's really good prior.
I agree. But you want to know what's funny is, based on what you said, the earliest movie, I don't know if it was his first movie ever, but what the earliest movie I ever saw him in was, you ever see Death Wish with Charles Bronson, the first Death Wish, 1974?
I saw the remake.
Okay. Oh, the remake's crap. You want to see the original Charles Bronson, early 70s Death Wish. So what I'm gonna spoil that movie. So reason why, so Death Wish is about Charles Bronson becoming a vigilante in New York City. He does this because his wife and his daughter get raped and murdered, or his wife and daughter get attacked and raped, and his wife dies, gets killed in the process. And you know who was doing that bad stuff to his wife and daughter? Jeff Goldblum leading a gang of rapists, and they break into her. So they break into her house by pretending to be the grocery bagger guys that would help ladies take groceries to their apartment, because apparently that was a thing in the 70s. So they did that. They just eyed them. They eyed them and took or got the address from the grocery bag, and then just went to the apartment and just did bad shit. And Jeff Goldblum never got caught. Like those guys in the beginning of the movie never got caught. Like they the whole movie was about the whole issue of vigilantism. So it wasn't really, and they never were identified by the police. So unfortunately, Charles Bronson didn't kill them. So, which was the one thing I was expecting Charles Bronson to kill them in the first movie, but that was not what the movie wasn't about revenge. The movie was about vigilantism. So, but yeah,
what is what's I going to say actually? Was that his first movie?
I think that was Jeff Goldblum's earliest movie. Because he was only like 22 or 23 in 74.
Wow.
So yeah. So yeah. It was his earliest film. It was only a small part, and you actually get to see his ass in that movie too, because he puts down his pants and forces oral rape, and it's terrible. So, yeah. So very different from how from the nerdy persona that everybody knows him now, the beloved nerdy Jeff Goldblum that we know today.
I know it's not something you would expect from Jeff Goldblum if you watch his older movies.
Nope. So yeah, if you haven't seen Death Wish, definitely check out Death Wish, 1974. Great movie.
So also, I was listing the wrong movie. When I said remake, I thought you said Death Proof. So I'm like, there's another one.
Oh no, there was only one. There was only one Death Proof. You're talking about the Tarantino movie, right? Yeah, there was only one. Death Proof. Yeah. Death Wish. They did a remake with Death Wish. They remade it with Bruce Willis a few years ago. I actually watched it.
Oh, I actually didn't see that one.
Yeah,
but I saw it. And okay.
Yeah. So there was a remake. You were actually right, even though you didn't know it. So,
I didn't know.
But yeah, here we get all the manifestations. I'm trying to see what else there is. So
he loses his fingernails. His teeth.
Oh, yeah, his teeth, and then he finds out here that he actually merged with the fly right here. So he knows his predicament now. And so he finds out. We find out through his research that they fused, and then he basically invites her over and tells her. And he looks like he has massive arthritis, right here. Like he has a hard time walking at first, and you get to see. I like how the makeup gradually gets worse and worse, scene after scene here. And we get to see him eat. And this is where I was just like, whoa. I was just like, I nearly got grossed out. Let me see if I can find it.
Looks like undead Michael Jackson.
Yes, he does. Let me see if I can find him eating. I want to find him eating right here.
Ah!
Wait.
It's like, hold on, I'm going to take a bite.
Wait a second, because I don't want to get struck. Let's see. All right, so this is 105.17.
You're on point, but he's reaching for the donut and he tries to take a bite.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh man.
Yes, and that's how they eat. They use that. It's acidic. It is acidic saliva that they need to break the food down, because they can't eat it normal like a way a human does. I
watched it, I read it, and it said that he was doing what a fly does by shooting enzymes They're like
Yes.
spitting enzymes on his food, man.
Yeah. So, by the way, everybody, leave a leave a like if you haven't already. Leave a like, and yeah, and thanks for being whoever's still here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks,
Um,
guys.
but yeah, so she tells Stathis about this, and he's like, "Girl,
Why would she tell him? Why would she tell him?
because she has nowhere else to turn. Because here's the one thing about this movie that I was actually impressed with. There's only three characters in this movie. There's the Fly, there's Seth, there's Gina Davis.
The Fly is a character.
Yeah, Veronica is her name, and him, Stathis Borans or something. So there's only three characters in this movie. She has no one else to turn to, so she goes to him. She goes to him for like, what should I do here? And he's like, well, videotape him, and bring it to me so I can watch it. And so ultimately he does that in front of the video. He does the whole way he eats. He spits everything out, and he's just, and we get to see his reaction. Actually, no, maybe I'll skip to it.
We should see it. I want to see the reaction.
Yeah. So right. Yeah. So here we get to see like the how the makeup takes a big turn right here. Okay. I didn't want to get this far. All right. Yeah. So here, yeah, that's perfect. He sees it. He's like,
that's my reaction.
yeah, I'd be doing that too. I'd be doing that too. So, but before that scene, she comes back and she sees him going all Spider-Man here. It's like he's climbing the walls, and I don't know if they used the same effect that they did in. Have you ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Poltergeist.
Well, Poltergeist too. I'm sure they did the same thing in Poltergeist. But you know what I'm talking about in Nightmare on Elm Street, where he kills that one girl. What's her name? Tina or something.
Yeah.
And like she's flying on the wall, she's flying on the ceiling and everything. I'm wondering if they use that same technique for this.
It's kind of like building a floor that looks like a wall.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I forget exactly what that was. So chat, I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot what exactly happened.
That's so cool, man. Movie magic sometimes can just
it requires a lot of creativity and how to make certain scenes work and everything. So
that was the first thing I thought of when I saw him crawling on the wall. I just thought back to Poltergeist, and the wife's just kind of being dragged around by the entity.
Who does he look like here? He looks like he belongs in The Hills Have Eyes right here.
Yes, he does. Or Hoggle from Labyrinth.
I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever seen Labyrinth.
Wait until you Google Hoggle, and then you'll be like, "Oh yeah." No.
Okay, we got Bone here. Bone says rotating sets. Thanks, Bone. Thanks for being here.
Oh, rotating sets. Okay.
Yes. So I'll have to watch the special features on this. But yeah. So like here, I'm trying to remember what I don't even remember what he says here. But I mean, this is where basically she asks him to videotape. She asks him to videotape, and she doesn't. And so this is where they videotape in, and that's where we get his reaction. And then she comes back home, and we find out that she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. And she's just like, I don't want this thing in my body. I don't want this. This is crazy.
Yeah, and then a giant bug.
Yeah, and then right after we have another scene, and oh, here it is. That's David Cronenberg right here. David Cronenberg is the gynecologist here, and did you think this was real when you first saw this, or did you think this was did you like, oh, this is a dream?
I couldn't tell. I mean, when I was going through the scene, and I'm like, why everyone is kind of acting weird, but it was the whole film is eccentric in a way. So when I was watching, I'm like, this could be actually happening.
Yeah, I love the face right here. Like I had to use this for my intro. I love the face right here. So it's, and then like, oh wait, where is it? There it is. There it is.
Ah! That thing looks so unholy. It's ridiculous.
It does. David Cronenberg's holding it, and we see the look. I want to see.
Oh gosh.
look at the reactions.
That her face.
Yeah, so she's screaming.
She's like, don't you guys see
Yeah,
it? Ah.
and this thing is wriggling and wriggling and wriggling. Ugh, oh Jesus!
Gross. I actually thought it was gonna something was gonna burst out of it. Just like
There was another nurse that had a priceless look. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay, that's too far.
So it's like rewatching my my videoed birth over and over again. You know what I mean, guys?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
This right here. Look, this is what I was talking about. Right? I love these looks right here. I'm sorry. All right, then there's David Cronenberg being David Cronenberg.
He's probably really proud of this scene.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. If I was directing, and this was it was a major scene. Obviously, the finale is the most important scene, and but I think this was another big scene that contributed really to the horror of this movie, to make this a horror movie. And so so he's so here at this point he finds out that he actually doesn't know yet. At this point, he doesn't know that he's going to be a father. And I thought this was very interesting here. So she sees him one last time, and he's he is just like, this is where he was talking about being an insect politician and all that. And he's just like this is a sad scene. Like he gets emotional here.
Yeah, it's tragic. It's depressing. Honestly.
And like she's crying during this time, and she can't get herself to tell him that she's pregnant with his child right here. And you start to see the emotion on his face. And they play really emotional music here. You know that Howard Shore did the music for almost all of David Cronenberg's films, right? You know, the same guy that did Lord of the Rings.
He did this one?
Yep, he did this. Yeah, he did. So he did Lord. Obviously, everybody knows Howard Shore did Lord of the Rings, all 3 films, and I think he did the Hobbits too, if I remember correctly. But before Lord of the Rings, he did almost all the Cronenberg films. So he did this, he did Scanners, he did The Brood. I don't know if he did The Shivers, but he might have. So Howard Shore's been around a long time.
That is crazy.
Yes.
That's probably why I liked it. I was like, man, this music slaps, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings soundtrack when you saw the movie, when you've rewatched it, right?
I've probably listened to the soundtrack more than any other soundtrack.
That
Field is my favorite.
Oh yeah, that's so awesome.
Shadow. I can't remember if it's Shadow of something. It's the song where Arwen is seeing her son in the future vision.
Yeah, that was a great one too. It was but here's the thing that I tried. I did a few Lord of the Rings streams. I wanted to create an intro using some of the stuff from the soundtrack. That gets copyrighted like nuts. Like
really?
That gets directly copyrighted no matter what version you use. And same with Game of Thrones, and it's not as bad with Star Wars, but Star Wars is if you're not careful, if you don't cut it a certain way, it'll take the music for Star Wars. Music is the thing that I have the biggest problem with the copyright stuff. So because I like to use the scores and all that to just make the stream or the video feel more authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but can you make the music yourself? You said any version of it they'll strike. Is that true?
For Lord of the Rings, yeah. So like if you
do your own?
Yeah. Yeah, so like some people who like to sing pop songs. Now, pop songs is a different level of copyright. Like the moment you play a pop song, it's going to get hit no matter what you do, because the music industry likes its money, and will try to make as much money as it can. Yes, but if you even play a cover of it, they're gonna, or you sing it on stream. Like if I wanted to sing like a song for Beverly Hills Cop, I'll probably get hit or something by copyright. So I don't know. It's weird how that works.
For Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So, but yeah, so the Howard Shore music here, it's very emotional, and she can't get herself to tell him that she's pregnant with this kid. And so she ends up, she's like, did you tell him? And she's like, no. And he's like, why didn't you? He's like, I wasn't ready. And while that's going on, he's listening, even though he's all the way on the roof here, And obviously, right here, and this I make this joke almost every serial horror session serial horror chat I do. And they gave the fog machine guy a job for this scene, and fog machine operators need love too. You know, they need to make the money too. So, I mean, if you've ever seen
so
The Howling,
underappreciated.
yeah. So like Joe Dante, who directed The Howling, he directed Gremlins. He appreciates a good fog machine operator, dude. So that's why. So like, especially in The Howling, especially you see like fog like crazy. So. And so like, yeah,
so they went over. So that was this guy's moment, his shining moment.
Yes,
pushing fog into the scene.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. So, and of course, this is where he usually when there's fog in the background and it usually means something sinister is going to happen, or this character is going to do something sinister coming up, which he does. But he overhears the conversation that he's a father, that he's going to be a father and all that. And what's funny is the following scene. So the following scene is she goes to the abortion clinic. She's like, I don't want this in me anymore. I'm worried what's going to happen. And the doctor there is just like, at this time of night, like, do we have to do this now? And she's like, yes. And he's like, why? The baby's deformed. How do you know this? Because the father's deformed. And I was like, shit. They're telling the truth too. And he's like, oh, fine. Yeah, and he's like, oh, fine, whatever. Okay, so come into the exam room, have a seat on the table, and then she's left alone, and all of a sudden we get this nice little juicy jump scare. So one thing this movie didn't have a whole lot of was jump scares, but here we get a nice little jump scare right about now. There you go, boom. So yeah, when the character's on the side and the what takes up the frame is like a window or something, someone's going to crash through that window. Something's going to happen in that part of the frame. So it's kind of like, so you kind of knew it was coming.
It was really quiet too. Like she's sitting there for a good minute, like thinking about it, and you're with her. So when you burst through, it's just like really shocking.
Yeah. So I mean, like I think this is. I mean, I think a lot of people might say might be Cronenberg's best film. And it's with very few actors, but it just works. And so like he basically abducts her and takes her, and they have a conversation here. And this conversation was also pretty heartbreaking too, because and I think I wrote it down. He literally says, please have, and this is like, he says, please have this baby, because this baby might be my last shred. This might be my last connection to humanity. Or how did he put it exactly? I'm trying to remember. I think I did write it down. Let me see.
You got a lot of really good notes there, sir.
So yeah, So obviously, Stathis, the boyfriend, sees this, or he knows exactly who did this. He sees this, and that he knows to go after him, knows where to go. So he goes back to, Seth's apartment, or the Fly's apartment. And it's like, yeah, so he says Seth is basically says the baby might be all that's left of him. Please don't. And he says, don't kill me. He says, he doesn't say don't kill the baby. He says, don't kill me. So he thinks, so he's part of him, the last shred of humanity in him is in that baby. And that's why he says, no, please don't.
Yeah, because he's lost all his compassion. He's losing himself.
Yeah, and that's why he tells her not to come back, because he will hurt her, because of he says there's no insect politician, there's no compassion, there's no compromise, there's nothing. Insects are brutal, and that's all he'll be going forward, is just brutal and insect-like. So it is like, you feel for this character, and that's part of what makes this movie so fucking good. Makes it so good. So
well, I just, like, you never see Jeff Goldblum in his normal form again. And I think that's the saddest part, because that's why he's does such a good job making you fall for him. Because when this happens, it's just like, dude, you're hopeful that he'll fix the problem, because they do raise a few solutions, but it's a really good job. Really good job.
And so Stathis arrives, with that full head of hair and beard, that very 80s corporate look, and he's got his shotgun case going. He puts the gun. I'm assuming that's a shotgun, puts it together, and then he finds out right here. Usually, when something happens, or when a bad guy attacks somebody, it's usually after the character, the target that they're attacking finds out something. Usually finds something out. In this case, he finds out that that Seth wants to merge himself with Gina Davis and the baby. So all three of them. He's like, we'll be a family. We'll be a new type of family. We'll always be together.
Gross, man.
I know. But it's like, it's the ultimate family. It's the ultimate form of love, you know. And it's just like, they're like, oh no. We like our individuality, please. We don't want to be part of you. And he sees this, and all of a sudden, you know, this is the payoff to him climbing earlier. So they set up the fact that he can do this, and they're paying it off right here. And he gets hit. He gets hit, and he tries to shoot him, but he just simply he just grabs the shotgun, and he starts drooling on his hand.
Gross.
He starts drooling on his hand, and his hand melts.
Yep.
Look at that. His hand melts.
Like ice cream.
But it wasn't the hand that got me. It was the other thing that got, oh God.
It gets worse.
It does. So this, okay, I went a little too far. But he goes for his foot right here. This is,
dude, look
this,
at his,
this was my thumbnail. This was my thumbnail. This is my thumbnail I use. He goes for his foot, and he melts his foot. Oh,
look at his face, dude. That's so scary.
It is. He's just like, the thing is, he was gonna drool on his face. He was gonna melt his face until Gina Davis up there says, "Please stop," and she manages. So he still has some semblance of humanity in him. So she manages to get through to him, and he stops. And then he's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then you have to agree to do this with me. And she's like, I don't want to, but he comes up obviously like this, brings her down,
come on,
and tells her what he's going to do. We're going to all merge. We're going to be a new type of family, like I said earlier. And he's losing his humanity. And this is where he starts to,
yeah.
All right, I wouldn't want to. Let's.
She's like, put a cork in it.
Yeah, let me see. Right, this looks very okay. I went too far. All right, this looks like just like something out of the 1982 thing.
It's a nightmare.
There you go.
Nightmare.
Waking, yeah, like great effect. And so he basically. I don't know if this is his final. I mean, this is in the movie. It's his final transformation. But I'm curious if he would have changed further had he lived. But this is his fly form.
Fly.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find a good frame of it. But he basically throws here. Perfect. This is the fly. This is the fly right here. So and he basically. Go ahead.
Sorry. I looking at it, like I felt like when I saw this. Because I was imagining that he was going to turn into a giant fly with wings. And it just seems to me that it wasn't compatible with his DNA, clearly.
No, it wasn't. It just wasn't. And I'm curious, because the one thing we didn't see yet is him growing wings. I'm assuming had he lasted a little bit longer in the movie, he would have grown wings and stuff. And he probably would have started flying and abducting people, probably.
Probably.
And you know what's funny? I thought about that. You know, I thought, you know, luckily as humans, we do not have to suffer predators. You know, but like I was watching you ever hear of a show called Primal? It's an animated show. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Okay, well, imagine if imagine if humanity was not on the top of the food chain and we were subjected to predators, but not only just any predators, not just like ground-based predators, but flying predators. Like this one? Like, have you ever seen the video of this little girl lets a rabbit go, you know, off, and then an eagle swoops down and takes it away, and they're like, "What the fuck?" You know, I would be terrified if there were flying predators that could just carry you off, and I think I first noticed that fear after seeing the movie. You ever hear the movie Jeepers Creepers?
Of course.
Okay, that movie terrified me when the creeper dude abducts Justin Long.
Yeah,
I was
that
like
ending was
being flown
absolutely
away
horrifying.
when you're being flown away by a predator is probably one of the most terrifying things in the world.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what is that predator? Is that predator going to drop you? Is that predator going to eat you while you're in midair? What is going to happen? And it leaves so much to the imagination.
Yeah, but that was scary though, because they did exactly what you expected. Like he did it, like you thought the worst, and it was the worst.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, so here the Fly is trying to enact his final plan, he throws Gina Davis into the pod, and then he goes into the pod. So she's in the pod with the baby, obviously. He goes into the pod himself, and Stathis here becomes the unsung hero. So he goes from being a creepy dude. He goes from being a creepy dude that just walks into her house or her apartment because he has the key, because they were, friends with benefits. And what's funny is she tells him not to come back. He's like, I think I will come back, and I'm not going to give back your key. I'm like, dude, that's
police report.
Yeah, exactly. And then as the movie goes on, and he's experiencing this stuff, he becomes the hero, and he basically saves her life. I mean, the telepod was about to do its transformation, and he shoots the connection between Gina Davis's telepod and the Fly's telepod. So the Fly's telepod is directly connected to the power source, and the Fly is trying to get out. He's breaking the glass and everything. The problem is, by the time he gets out, because of how slow he is in his movements, he's too late, because by the time the countdown happens, he merges with bits of the telepod itself. And so
what's the glass for? That stuff doesn't come out and start like shooting everybody and like fusing everyone together. I figured like the glass window,
I'm assuming because he's still physical. Because when the sequence is going down, I don't know how that works. Maybe it's because he's touching the outside of the. I don't fully understand it, but maybe it's because he's touching the outside of the telepod or something. Because even if you're in the telepod, you're still making contact with the telepods, and you're not merging with the telepod. He didn't merge with the telepod, so I don't fully understand how he goes from that to this right here, where he's got all these tubes in him. And he's just basically like, I can't he's got all this like merged with all this equipment. And he's just like, I can't move, I can't walk, and I want to die. And he's basically telling her in his own way to shoot him. And he grabs the rifle, aims it right at his head.
She's like, "What? No! What are you, crazy?"
Yeah, and then she makes he's like, please do this, and then she cries, and then she let me see, I want to get that effect.
So cool though. Oh
yeah, right here. I'm gonna pause it for a few seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Blows his head off. There you go. And it's over. I mean, that's the thing. Once the bad guy is dead, they just end. The movie ends. There's no epilogue. There's no what happens next type of deal. Because there was one thing that there's one question that wasn't answered. And you know what that was? The baby.
The baby.
The baby.
The baby. Yes.
The baby. So like, and it didn't, and like. Maybe he forgot, or maybe it was meant for the audience to be like, okay, well, what about the baby? What's going to happen? Because I thought, or maybe there was an ending. They just cut it for time, or maybe they just cut it because maybe they felt they didn't need it. I don't know.
I can only imagine audiences like seeing this, because I was pretty surprised just seeing it just like boom end. I'm like, oh, okay. It must have been really depressing, because it is. It's a tragic ending. There is zero epilogue. It's just like it's like
So I Bone, that's a problem. That's Bone. You're probably right on. You're probably right about that. So yeah, the inside is insulated, and yeah, he did touch the outside, and that's kind of what caused him to merge with parts of the telepod or something. I don't think it was because you see the effect. The effect encompasses the entire telepod. So maybe the entire I want to check. Does the entire telepod disappear?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to look now. Let me see. Okay, so he already changed. So yeah, so he's leaving the telepod. And it looks like a big.
Yeah.
No, it looks like a portion of it right here, just kind of got cut. So it wasn't the whole thing. It was just a portion of it.
So maybe it was some of the stuff that broke off, and just at the last second, it decided to fuse what fell off on him.
Yeah. So yeah, the telepod's still there. So
That is
it's
such
just
a cool shot.
It is.
Fog machine, dude. Hey,
Yeah,
that's
and
good stuff.
the other thing I was curious, like, how is he gonna get out of there? Because his foot melted and his hand melted.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What
wait,
what
we're
do you
talking
think?
about the guy who got
The guy. Yeah.
Status?
Yeah.
Well, she can't carry him out, can she?
No, probably have to call 911 right away. Like, what the hell happened here? Oh,
Don't pay any attention to this thing.
A guy turned into a fly and he tried to kill me and turned me into. He tried to merge me. They're like, what?
And he's like, what really happened?
Lady, are you nuts? I think we're gonna put you in a rubber room or something. Mark
He's
Clark
like,
asks,
look at my hands.
yeah, Mark Clark asks, have you ever seen the sequel? No, I have not seen the sequel. I've only seen this one. So,
There's a sequel to this?
Yeah, there's a Fly too. Apparently, I don't think it was David Cronenberg because, the good old days of making sequels to horror movies. It's just they're all cash grabs.
Is it about the baby?
I don't know. Let me see.
The baby? Did the baby become the Fly?
All right, a sequel directed by Wallace. The film stars Eric Stoltz and Daphne Zuniga. This came out in 1989, several months after the events. Veronica Quaife. So Veronica Quaife is played by, I don't think she's in the movie. Now they got a different actress, and it's a bit part. It's not one of the main parts. Oh, oh my God! Several months after the events of The Fly, Veronica Quaife gives birth to a larval sac and dies. So she was right. She was right. The sac splits open to reveal a seemingly normal baby boy. Anton Bartok, the owner of the company that financed Seth Brundle's teleportation experiments, adopts the child and names him Martin. Martin grows up in a clinical environment. His physical and mental maturity is highly accelerated. He possesses a genius level intellect, incredible reflexes, and no need to sleep. Okay, I'm not going to read any more because I haven't watched this movie, but yeah, apparently it's a sequel. It was directed by Chris Wallace, screenplay by Frank Darabont worked on this. Frank Darabont, he did
yes, sir.
Walking Dead and
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption. By the way, one of the characters in Wheel of Time was I literally was acting just like Andy Dufresne. Taking pieces of the wall off, to escape and all that. It was dumb. Yeah, but yeah, that's the Fly. Everybody, it was a really good movie. This was a great chat. Thanks for doing it. Do you have any final thoughts about the movie?
I'm probably going to watch the sequel. Like looking back now, knowing that there is a sequel, it kind of recontextualizes Seth's goals, because Seth wanted to do a world-changing thing, and it looks like the baby might be an accidental perfection of his experiments.
Yeah, that might be right here. So yeah.
But I like the movie. I love the movie. I've never seen it. I saw it 2 or 3 hours before the stream, and I was hooked. And it's why I didn't even write enough notes to.
Yeah, that's actually yeah. You don't have to. So here's the thing. And this is for anybody that's listening. If you're on a stream with me, you don't have to. I mean, the only thing I would ask you if we're covering a movie, the only thing I ask you to do is to watch the movie. That's it. You don't have to take notes. If you have anything you want to add, if you have anything you want to bring up, you're free to do so. I mean, I mean, my streams are usually chill. So, but yeah, man, thanks for doing this. I thought this was a great movie. This is one of the best horror movies. Well made, well written. The effects were great. It was a slow burn, and the actors really carried, in my opinion. There were three major actors, and they all did stellar jobs, in my opinion.
I agree. I think Jeff Goldblum was the star, absolutely, and like his acting range, like it's no wonder
Yes.
that he got picked for so many good movies later on because that was such a great performance. And yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate you bringing me on, like 100%.
Did you have a good time? Do you enjoy this?
I like at
Don't
first
don't,
I was
don't
nervous,
answer that.
but hey, look, I think you're just a cool dude, but the fact that you even brought me on here, it just means a lot, man, and I appreciate it a lot.
Cool dude, huh? I wonder who that is.
Fly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, so but yeah, man. Once again, thanks a lot. So, just last thing I always ask, co-panelists and friends of the channel, what are you working on? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. I'll do a plug. So I have one Halloween project I'm working on right now for this Halloween. So I'm working on a spooky video and One Piece episode 2 that was on the back burner for a bit. Oh, and Loki season 2 I'm going to be covering.
Oh, okay. So are you covering all the Disney stuff? Have you covered like Ahsoka and Disney Star Wars and
Ahsoka? I was actually really trying hard to avoid. I haven't covered it as a show, but I was going to give thoughts on the show video because I just don't want to go through. It was such a pain to get through the show. It really was.
I have a question. Has there been any Disney Star Wars that you liked?
Yes, I liked Mandalorian season 1, and I liked Andor almost as much as season 1. I thought the writing in Andor was great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Andor is the best of the live action Disney Star Wars. It might be the best of with the exception of the Clone Wars, maybe season 7.
I think I'm with you because Andor is probably the only show I felt that had any substance or like the guy cared about what he was making and he was trying to tell a story. That's what I got, and that's why I like it. I don't get that from the other shows.
Yeah, I watched 5 episodes of Ahsoka, and I was watching another show that I really enjoyed a lot more. I don't know if you ever heard of Banshee.
I have.
Okay, Banshee is awesome. I binged that show within a couple weeks.
Really?
Bad guys are bad. Fight scenes are awesome, and I like all the characters, even the bad characters. I like there's villains, but then there's some grayer characters who I like, and I didn't want them to die, basically. And when characters do kick the bucket, it hurts, and that's a marking of a good show.
Would you recommend I watch this show, Banshee?
Yes, it's one of the best shows I've watched all year. My friend Prophet of the Dragon told me to watch it. And like I feel if they made a true Disney Star Wars show, they'd make it like the way Banshee is. The only difference is without the the gratuitous sex, because one thing about Banshee is the male gaze is a thing. Unlike most modern shows now, you know what I'm talking about? Like there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of swearing, there's a lot of sex. Well, take away the swearing and the sex, but having like menacing bad guys who are not only bad, but when they enter the scene, you are terrified, or you're like, what the hell are they going to do? Remember how Darth Vader had that effect? And when you watch the original trilogy, like whenever he entered the scene, you're like, holy shit, what's going to happen? That's what I miss. That's what I'm missing from modern shows now, especially Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is a good versus evil. So you should have a menacing villain who the heroes or the protagonists struggle to, overcome. And that's what made the original trilogy work. And even the prequel trilogy, which has a lot of execution problems, still had good villains.
For the most part. Even the replacement one in the prequel in 2.
Yeah.
I remember they were going Jar Jar, but even Dooku was a good one.
I like Chris, and plus I love Christopher Lee. Like Christopher Lee he was awesome, obviously, as Saruman. He was born to play. I mean, he was originally promised by J.R.R. Tolkien himself to play Gandalf.
Was he?
Yes, because he met J.R.R. Tolkien. Like he read the Lord of the Rings every year, and he actually met him. So, and wow. he was more than familiar with the source material. But because he was older and he couldn't really handle the action that was required to play Gandalf, they had him play Saruman instead.
Yeah, that's one of those miracles. I think he did a great job.
Yes, he did. I totally agree. But yeah, so but yeah, Christopher Lee was awesome in Star Wars. But yeah, definitely check out Banshee. Banshee. I mean, I probably want to. There's shows that I watched recently for the first time that I want to make videos on. It's just making videos so much work. Making like a review retrospective, which is my wheelhouse. Because I just watched Banshee, but I also watched The Wire. The Wire is another HBO show. Very different type of show.
I like The Wire. I've actually watched that one.
Yeah, The Wire. I had a hard time getting into it at first, but I started to slowly understand the language of what was being said in the show. It's very different. So it's not your usual cop show.
No.
You know, where you have chases and you have shootouts. It's nothing like that.
It's very in depth. They go in like personal, even for the bad guys, they go the personal lives and.
Yeah, it's more based in reality than any other show I've ever watched, especially the system of Baltimore, the Baltimore, justice system, whether it's police
or you got a guest here. You got George Lucas in the chat.
Yeah, George Lucas came by yesterday. He's obviously watching. He's keeping tabs on content creators. And everything.
Hi, George. Love Star Wars. Your version.
Yeah, I agree. When bad guys were bad and everything, and I love the EU. I haven't read all the EU, but the books that I've read were good, and I love the video games that came out during the George Lucas era. I love Shadows of the Empire, love Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah.
Jedi Academy.
My brother played Jedi Academy. I played Jedi Outcast, GameCube. I played the GameCube version of that one. So
those are all so great.
Yeah. So, but it's funny how we kind of went off on a tangent and talked about Star Wars. So you're covering Loki. Are you covering anything else coming up?
I don't know. I'm kind of just feeling it out as I go along, but I'm probably just going to focus on finishing One Piece, my Halloween video, and Loki for now. Yeah.
All right. I heard nothing. I've not seen. And I'm a big anime guy. Like I don't know if you've noticed, but like those top three and that fourth shelf, those are all anime.
Yes.
I've not seen One Piece because One Piece has been on since 1999, and they are currently, I think, at episode 1078 or 79 now.
Yeah.
So it's so yeah, and the manga is still going too. So it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. So I just didn't want to commit to watching all that, and so.
All right, so I'll say this for you, just for your. My wife despises anime, and probably hates the fact that I love anime even more, and she hates it. But she watched the live action that got her into the anime, and now she can't stop watching the anime.
Oh, nice!
So I'd give it a chance if you get the chance, give it a shot.
Everybody I know has been saying it's actually solid. Like it's unlike the Cowboy Bebop Netflix adaptation.
Oh, night and day difference. Like I loved it so much. I did my first review video for it was a full 30-minute breakdown. It's just a good show. Very good storytelling and character arcs, pacing. Yeah, it's good.
It's like because it's funny with Netflix. They must have had. I'm curious if they had. No, I think it's the reason why that show was that the One Piece turned out good is because the creator was actually involved.
Yes,
he had some input. Unlike Shinichiro Watanabe, had nothing to do with Cowboy Bebop, and obviously it showed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What they did to Bebop. I mean, I own Bebop. I've watched that show multiple times.
Love it.
And it was. I watched the first episode, which was a bloated version of the first episode of the anime show, and it's just a shame based on what I've heard and how they treated the character Vicious. They turned Vicious into a bitch. Like, how do you turn a villain into a bitch? It's like what, stop. Seriously.
I honestly just think they want to do it. It's some of it could be speculative, I suppose, but it's just so on the nose how they deconstruct everything. They deconstruct the good guys, the bad guys, and they like reverse them all.
Yep, and
it's so insulting.
It's so fun. Is Wheel of Time season 2 did that crap? The heroes of Wheel of Time season 2 were the bigger villains than the villains. That's
So
not.
I saw the first season. I've been avoiding too. I really have.
Oh, it'll like the Scanners guy. Your head's gonna explode. But Mark Clark recommends a show called He says I recommend Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Have you ever heard of that one?
I'll be actually, to tell you the truth, I think I saw a tweet about it today.
Okay.
But I don't. But other than that, that's it. But someone was. It looked like a comic. I don't know.
It's an anime. It's an anime that, in my opinion, has the most gravitas of anything. It's a space opera. It's a space opera war epic. I may know somebody who made a 15-minute video on it about a month ago.
Really?
Yeah. And his name is Nerporial. He identifies as Nerporial.
It kind of sounds like Flyporial, but just clearly different people.
Yeah, definitely different people. But yeah,
I guess I'll have to check it out. I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
It's a 15-minute video. I don't go into major spoilers. I basically talk about the setting, the characters, and the situation, what's going on. It's basically two factions in space. You ever see Gundam?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like Gundam in the fact that it's a science fiction that takes place in space, but there's no aliens. It's all humanity. It's all humanity, but there's one side, one ideology fighting another ideology, one side versus another. Empire, monarchy based off of 19th century Prussia versus a more modern 1980s, 1990s, representative democracy type of government type of deal, but where the politicians are, self-serving and corrupt. You have a monarchy that's run by the Kaiser, and it's like a period piece on that side of the war. And there's two protagonists on each side, and there's so many characters. There's so many things that happen that drive the events of history. It's told like a historical chronicle. And I say this in my video: nobody is safe. No one is safe. So watch the video. I include it's getting people to watch it. Like, people are like literally saying thank you for bringing the show to light.
Like Game of Thrones, not safe.
Even worse than Game of Thrones.
Oh my gosh!
And you have to watch the video to find out. I don't go into major spoilers, but unlike things happen, like war happens and characters get killed, and there's military coups, there's assassinations, there's so much shit that happens that affects. There's major consequences for things that happen down the line. And it's 110. The original show that came out in the 80s and 90s is 110 episode OVA, and it's brilliant. And it's classical music score. All the classics: Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Schubert, all the composers we learned about, all the European composers we learned about in school, and all the legendary Japanese voice actors. So the problem is it's in Japanese, so you got to read something.
Oh well, that's okay. I mean, right. I just watch it no matter what.
My friend Prophet will not watch it because of that. And I was like, dude, you're missing out on a great show. But hey, nobody's perfect, I guess.
I mean, I understand. Like, I understand. Sometimes it's not easy to watch.
It's not for everybody. I got used to it. I started, and now I always watch a show with subtitles because I don't want to miss anything. So, but yeah,
how I feel.
So that's Mark Clark's recommendation, and I wonder. I think I might know the person that might recommended it to him. So
I will consider that a recommendation. It actually sounds like a good show and worth my time.
What I'll do is I'll DM you the link to that video, and you can watch it whenever you have time to watch it. So
I absolutely will, man.
It's only 15 minutes, so, and you get to hear the sound of my voice, which is, I mean,
look, man, it's pleasant. It's like a creek, like a little creek.
But yeah, anything else going on?
No, honestly, I'll try to keep up with the news. I like doing news videos every day, so just if you want to know what's going on in Hollywood, I will do my best to keep things balanced and informative.
Yeah, it's a shame that the strike ended.
Yes, but as far as I'm tracking, I think the actors are still striking, are they not?
I don't know. Maybe they are.
They are. I think the writer's strike ended and the actor's strike is still going. I could be wrong, but that's what I was reading today, and I'm like, well, you know what? Sucks.
Sounds like all right. Well, I'll have to. Well, if you do a video, I'll have to check it out. So everybody, subscribe to Dread Roberts for news and for pop culture news and whatever projects you got going on. So once again,
Hey, what have you got going on?
oh yeah, that's right. Well, I just hit a subscriber milestone, so I promised to write a video or make a video explaining what staincorporeal means, because that's something I always say in my videos or my streams and everything. So I have to figure out what that means, because I already made a video. It's an early video when I hit my 100 sub milestone. I said what it means to be corporeal and everything. So I need to kind of expand it. What does staincorporeal mean? And I have to kind of expand. It's a sequel to that video. So that's what I.
So you're world building, kind of.
Yeah. So lore, some corporeal lore, poreal building or whatever. Yeah, lore-poreal. Sounds like a
Nerdlorial.
Yeah. So that's something I'm gonna do. There's a lot of projects I want to do going forward. I want to cover. I started the Wheel of Time book review, so I've read the first 3 Wheel of Time books. So I already released a book review of the first book, The Eye of the World, and so I do want to release the Great Hunt. Eventually, that's the second book as a book review. So that's a project, and another project is another anime recommendation. So I did Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Next one I want to do is the anime series Monster, which is a psychological. It's like a crime psychological thriller.
Ooh.
So that's a series. That's another stellar show that I think doesn't get enough love. That's on Netflix. So Legend of the Galactic Heroes is on High Dive, and I paid $800. I bought the Blu-rays. I paid $800 for those things. That's how much I like Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
That sounded like a 3-digit number.
It did. 800. It was almost a 4-digit number. That's how much they charge for that show and everything. So, but Monster's another show I really like, and that's if it ever came out on Blu-ray, I'd buy it right away. If it was $300, I'd put the money down.
That's good. Huh? You liked it that much?
Yeah. So that's a project, and I want to do. I'm doing a Mario educational retrospective because I played when I was growing up. I played Mario's Missing. And it did kind of ruin my Christmas, but you know what? I did learn something from that game because it was an educational game. So I'm going to do a Mario educational retrospective. So it's going to include Mario's Missing. And I didn't realize it wasn't just on Super Nintendo. It was also on NES. It was also on DOS, Microsoft DOS. So there's different versions of that game. And there was another game called Mario's Time Machine where you go back in time to give artifacts back to historical figures, and you have to prove that they're the real thing by answering questions or filling in the blanks. So it's like doing homework in the video game. It's an educational game for that reason. And there was Mario's Teaches Typing. The reason why I can type now the way I did is because of Mario.
I didn't know there was. That's so cool. I didn't even know
it was. Because and when I was in school, and I actually did not own it. I actually owned. I owned Mario's Missing. I rented Mario's Time Machine. Those were Super Nintendo games. And then Mario's Teaches Typing was actually at my school. We actually had a computer in the background. This was 1995. I was 9 or 10, and they had Mario Teaches Typing. So the overworld was just you typing like A, D, F. Typing letters. Then then you go to the underwater area, and Mario's swimming. You have to type words so he doesn't get killed by the bad guys. And so you have to be correct in what you type so that Mario doesn't die. And then when you get to the Bowser's castle, you have to type like a speech or something. So when I did it, it was the Gettysburg Address.
Oh,
so
no.
Yeah, so if you mistype and you don't type in time, Mario might get stomped by a twomp, or he might fall into the lava, or he might get hit by one of Bowser's fireballs and everything. So yeah, so that was Mario Teaches Typing. So that's my next video game retrospective. And then after that,
a lot of people know about that one.
I don't think. I mean, there are some really big channels covered it. Got quite a bit of views, but that's because they're bigger channels that covered it a long time ago. But that's not my next video game retrospective. The anime retrospective, and then the movie retrospective, which I've been sitting on my ass because it's a tough one to do, is 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's my next movie retrospective.
Oh wow, that's a big one, man.
That's a big one. It's a tough one because it's Stanley Kubrick, and I just haven't taken the time. I haven't really been feeling like because all these videos I do require live. First step to a video. Every video is a project for major project. First thing I do is research. I have to take research. Then I have to write my script. Then I have to make sure. And the thing I need to start doing more is checking my grammar because my grammar sucks. It's been a long time since I've taken grammar in school, so I have to check my grammar, and then I record my audio, and then once I record the audio, then the video, then the biggest part is depending on how long the script is, then comes the video editing part, and the video editing part I usually do as I go, so. I don't plan how exactly what I'm going to use. I just create a clip that fits what I'm saying, and then I do it.
Honestly, we're probably pretty similar in that aspect. I don't really do any plan for editing. I just kind of like look at it as I go and be like, "Oh, this would be good if I did that," you know?
Yeah, and then I watch it, I double check it, and people have complimented me on my editing skills. I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. I do a little of this and a little bit of that, whatever makes sense. So. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, project wise. So there's always projects I want to do. Yeah, that's me. So, but yeah, once again, thanks for doing this. And you know what? Because everybody was impressed, I want to show the intro again, and then I'm going to do the outro, and that'll be it. So
let's do it.
All right, so everybody, once again, hit the like button and subscribe to Dread Roberts. And if you haven't subscribed to Nerdporial is my real name. Flyporial is just what I identify as tonight. So just to keep that clear. And everybody, stay safe and stay Nerdporial. Have a good night.
Later.
The end of the year is nigh. All that was alive and green now turns to a dark red, a bloody red, a red that activates our fear, making us all crazy. To properly channel this fear, we release it through the consumption of horror media. Nerdporial and a special guest will have a special discussion during this time to ward off evil for all its pain and pleasure. Nerdporial humbly welcomes you to Season 2 of the Serial Horror Chat.